talk a little more about what trauma is. Grab your tea. I'm having pistachio. We're color coding this time for my visual learners. Let's go over some basic definition first. What exactly is trauma? Well, trauma is when a stressful event overwhelms your body's ability to regulate. It's when you can't cope with something that is stressful that is happening to you. That means that trauma is also not directly related necessarily to how bad the event is itself. We can get really caught up in, well, this isn't bad enough to qualify as trauma. Your brain is not the one that decides that. When your body is overwhelmed, your body is overwhelmed, no matter how judgmental your brain or other people are. It also means trauma isn't really comparable between bodies, because if someone had something bad happen to them that really hurt them, but the same thing happened to someone else and they were A-okay, that doesn't mean this wasn't traumatic for this person. Now, of course, not all stress is the same or created equal, so we kind of differentiate between the two, between little t trauma and big T trauma, which I'm going to put over here in blue. Little t and big T trauma. I want to think of it like this. Let's say you have a bunch of little itty bitty things start happening to you, like you skin your knee, or an emotional response would be like someone asks you where you're really from and you're a POC, right? That's something that happens to a lot of people. Most people are able to get over it okay. But if the next day you skin some bit off your side, and then the next day you take a little off your hand, and the next day you bump up your face, and the next day something happens to you and you get a little off your leg, if this adds up, this most definitely can overwhelm your body's ability to regulate. Big T trauma happens a little differently because it's usually categorized as a before and an after event. Let's say that you were riding your bike, you fell off your motorcycle, and you take off all this skin at once. All this skin at once is a huge trauma response, and you're never going to forget the day where you lost half your skin in one day. This could also be a death in the family, your parents divorcing you, losing your job. There are a lot of things that would create a before and an after in your life, where your life is fundamentally different because of a stress response that your body had. Little t and big T trauma can also interact with one another. Because let's say, this thing happens to you years ago, like your parents divorcing, and then it's totally fine. And then some small thing triggers your side right here, and your body is like, whoa, remember that whole time when you had a really, really stressful thing happen and your whole body was overwhelmed? That's what triggering is. Little t and big T trauma can interact with one another. But in both cases, your body is having a stress response. This is why we use the same word for trauma when it's little and when it's big, because your body reacts to that stress the same. I made this specifically to say that things can be traumatic even if your brain or other people don't think that they are, because they're not the ones that decide what trauma is. Your body is the one that decides what trauma is. Hopefully this encouraged you to be a little kinder to yourself today. Have a good one.